What is good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe, hit the bell notification, put on all so you get notified all the latest content as and when it drops on the channel. So let's get into this one, a fight that I'm sure everybody's heard about by now. Anthony Joshua knocks out Robert Helenius in 7 rounds, and this video I'm going to talk about that, and of course the next move that I think Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua, specifically more so Eddie Hearn, been talking about is fighting Deontay Wilder after this fight. It's been talked about in December. Now I believe it's about January, something like that. So that looks to be the next move. But we're going to talk about, first of all, the fight and if I think AJ is actually ready to take on a Deontay Wilder in his very next fight. So anyway, let's get into this fight. So this fight went basically as I expected. I expected a late knockout by Anthony Joshua just based on his past performance, specifically against Jermaine Franklin. Based on the way he boxed there, I expected this fight to go long, because I know he's got the ability to take a lot of guys out, but it's about your mind state. Is your mind on the job? Do you have it in mind to knock this guy out and take this guy out? Because that makes all the difference. What is in your mind? What is your mindset going into the fight? That's what makes a difference. You can have all the ability or the attributes in the world, but if your mind ain't right and your mind ain't on the job, then you're going to go long. And that's what kind of, it's wasn't that long of a fight, halfway through. So anyway, from the beginning, Anthony Joshua just kept it long throughout especially the first 45 rounds. Joshua was just electing to box. He was practicing the move, high guard, all this sort of stuff, bobbing and weaving a little bit. And he was content to try things out for those first few rounds. He was just boxing, sometimes going on the back foot. He was moving about the ring, and he was electing here to box rather than brawl. So I, like many others, believe that, you know, the sort of brawling he done in the beginning, combination punching, that sort of thing is not at the forefront of his mind. So he's boxing a lot more. So that's what he did throughout this fight early on. Helenius himself, he was just sort of the same thing, keeping it long. He did come forward at certain times. He was leaning away from shots. He had quite a low guard at some time. You could see that Helenius was very confident in his fight. He was confident, hands low at certain times, and, you know, took a few risks with AJ, but he didn't really do much. Helenius, you know, he was content just to be there, jabbing with AJ. AJ did show quite a decent jab, but Helenius was able to do a bit of facial damage on AJ around by his eye. I think it was probably the right eye, something of that nature. So he done a bit of facial damage on AJ, but he never really looked like he was going to win the fight. It was always, you look at it and you can see one guy's in charge, and that guy is Anthony Joshua. So, you know, again, as expected, it was a very cautious performance by Anthony Joshua. He was very cautious. He was very careful throughout this fight. You know, that's not what I like to see from Anthony Joshua. I like to see the old style. I like to see him more confidence. But anyway, he was very cautious. He came to fight cautious. He, as I've sort of noted here, he hardly let his hands go early on. He was content to throw. It's mainly the jab he was throwing. Sometimes he wasn't committing to the jab. Sometimes he was pawing with the jab. Sometimes showing a good, solid jab. But he was mainly content to just throw jabs, throw sort of 1 and 2 punches at the time. That's the amount of shots he was letting go. It's just 1 or 2. It's just a jab by itself, or just a 1-2, and that was it. So he wasn't letting his hands go at all. One of the problems I saw with Anthony Joshua in this fight, and many of you would have seen if you've seen the fight, is that he was always sort of looking for this perfect shot. And I kind of noted that in, you know, the Franklin performance and others, that he's nowadays, the way he boxes, it's like he's just looking for this perfect shot. He's not willing to sort of commit and let his hands go. He's just biding his time, jabbing, you know, sometimes throws the right hand in there, and he's just sort of looking for this perfect shot that doesn't usually come. But anyway, he was also, another big thing in this was that Joshua was falling short with a lot of his attacks, specifically where he's trying to line Helenius up for that right hand, for the peach of a right hand that he wanted to land. And a lot of the times when he's trying to set up these shots, he's falling short with his attacks. And it was just because of something simple. It's because of the fact that he was throwing his punches, throughout a lot of these earlier rounds from far to, way too far away. He was trying to throw punches, but he was well out of range. So, you're not going to land from out there. And it was repeatedly happening. And he was even saying to Derek James in the corner, it's a bit hard to land the right hand, but it's like, what do you expect? You're trying to throw a right hand from far out. You're out of range. You're out of distance. It's a tall opponent. What do you expect? You're trying to land punches from way out of range, and that's what he was doing. Throughout a lot of this fight, he's content to just throw the ones and the twos, and he's trying to do everything from sort of long range when he needed to step in. And it was kind of sad to see in a sense, because Joshua, he was able to land some of these big right hands and power shots, but it was quite sporadic. He landed them quite sporadically. But he had this problem in there, and it seems kind of a mental problem in the ring, where he would land power shots, and you would see when you watch the fight back, if you've seen it, or you watch the fight, and you'll see there's plenty of times where Joshua lands his power shots, lands the right hand or whatever. Sometimes he's just grazing Helenius, and you could see that Helenius was visibly hurt. So you'd think if you're a puncher, you're a finisher, you'd smell blood and go after him. But, it was like even when he had success, even when Helenius looked hurt, you could visibly see this guy is hurt. He just wouldn't do it. He just wouldn't go after the guy. He just wouldn't close the show. And another observation that I made, some may agree, some may disagree, was that Joshua, he left Robert Helenius's body alone, and that was a big shame, because if you're not confident, because he was just headhunting all the time, Anthony Joshua. It was really just headhunting, looking for this perfect right hand. And you think, you're fighting a big tall guy like you, and one of the things you do to sort of get to line up for that right hand to the head you want to land is you work his body. That's a basic thing that I think Anthony Joshua could have and should have done, is he should have gone for the body of Robert Helenius and broke him down from the body, and then you bring your shots over. While he's thinking about defending his body, because of your body attack, you then bring a right hand over the top, or you bring a left hook over the top while he's defending downstairs. That's what you do. You do, as Teddy Atlas likes to say, you put water in the basement. And that was a big shame from Anthony Joshua, that, he had a big, tall target in front of him, with a big, long torso, and he left the body alone completely. I think he should have definitely committed to himself. And not only that, even from the amateur days, when I used to box myself, one of the first things you learn is about double jabbing. And when you throw your jab, you step in with it, and then you step in again with the second jab. Two different phases of attack. I think Anthony Joshua could have done with a bit of that. Just when he's throwing his shots, don't throw them from out of range. When you throw your shots, you step in and you commit to your shots. You don't just throw it from outside and then hope to land when you're facing a big, tall guy like that. It's all right, maybe if you're fighting a short guy and you can whatever, but he's fighting a big, tall man like that, leaves the body alone. He should have been stepping in with his attacks, because I guarantee you, just my opinion, but I think many will probably agree with this, that had Joshua, rather than sort of doing everything from range and not really committing to the attacks, had he stepped in with it, even the jab he was throwing, you step in with the jab, step in again, step in with the jab, go downstairs, and you'd begin to break this guy down. But he was just doing everything from way too far out. I think that's what he really needed. That's what one of the things that was missing in this fight, is that he didn't step in with his shots, he didn't commit much to his shots, and that's what made him sort of miss from far out. Whereas if he'd committed, if he'd stepped in with his attacks, if he'd actually gone downstairs, you step in, go to the body, and then bring it up to the head. Things of that nature is what Joshua needed to do, but unfortunately he didn't do that. But fortunately for him, he lands that perfect right hand he was looking for. Early part of the 7th round, brilliant shot that he landed. I think he just sort of faked a jab to the body and then come over with a great right hand, and that literally put Helenius to sleep. So good performance. I mean, good knockout by him. And he done this madness after, as many of you will know, making some crazy gestures. He ran and he jumped out of the ring. He went and started taking selfies with the fans. He went to Conor McGregor, started drinking, I guess it looked like a Guinness or something, whatever drink Conor McGregor's got, Guinness or beer, whatever it was. He had a drink, went around, had some fun, and you could tell it was really a relief for Anthony Joshua. So in hindsight, this was a kind of hesitant performance by him. It was what we've come to expect from him by now. But the KO, the finish, was brilliant. The performance itself left a lot to be desired because he didn't really commit. He left the body, stuff of that nature. But the knockout was a great knockout. And regarding Wilder, I'd say on that performance, I definitely wouldn't be backing Anthony Joshua to beat Deontay Wilder. I'd make Deontay Wilder the favorite, at least in my book, going into that fight. And that would be solely based on the confidence of Deontay Wilder, on the fact that Deontay Wilder doesn't really doubt himself in that ring. When he goes into that ring, he believes he's going to win, and he does what it takes. He'll let that right hand go. He's not going to be hesitating. He's not going to be pussyfooting around. Deontay Wilder will let his shots go. He will commit to the attacks. He will not be worried about, what Anthony Joshua is going to do. He'll be confident in his own ability. He'll be confident in his own right hand. Now, on the other hand, with Anthony Joshua, I believe that he's got the ability to beat Deontay Wilder. I believe he's got the attributes to beat Deontay Wilder. He can outbox him. And, he could even take Deontay Wilder out. But I think because of the lack of confidence and the lack of self-belief, that is why I would have to favor Deontay Wilder going into it. Because it doesn't matter what ability you've got, if you haven't got the confidence and you haven't got the self-belief, then you're not going to win. You could have the best attributes, the best skills in the world. If you don't believe in your skills, you don't believe in yourself, and you're having these doubts in the ring and you're hesitant. I mean, you hesitate against Deontay Wilder at your peril or to your peril or however they say it. It would be disaster if you was to ever hesitate against Deontay Wilder. You fight Deontay Wilder, you got to have your game plan. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be fully committed and confident in every punch that you throw and in everything that you do. So in closing, I think he's got the ability to beat Deontay Wilder. He's got the skill, he's got the attribute, he's got the power that he can do the job. But due to the lack of confidence and the confidence Deontay Wilder has in himself, and knowing that he was going to let that right hand go, I'd have to pick Wilder. Another thing Joshua may have in his favor here, though, is that Joshua has been in the ring more frequently. They've not been great performances, but Joshua has had time actually in the ring. Now, Wilder's been out of the ring for well over a year, and he's had hardly any rounds. He's only had that half a round against Helenius. So the inactivity might go against Wilder. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. I'd make Wilder the favorite if they were to fight next. But with a few more fights, who knows what Joshua can do. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out.